Well, here we are. 13 episodes in, we're at the point of no return. And what's a better way to start off the 13th episode? How about a Rarity and Applejack episode? That's what today's episode, or this week's episode, comes in, known as Simple Ways. The episode begins with the announcement of who's gonna do the whole planning for the decorations for the Ponyville Day celebration, which is literally their little, I would say, hold down on when Ponyville was actually discovered. It's good to know a little bit of history of Ponyville. And throughout the situation, Rarity is actually picked as the winner of the competition. And of course, a person's actually going to show up for the to review Ponyville. His name is shoot. It's enough I have both biceps. It's hard to remember. Now I'm having a hard time trying to remember this pony. Oh yeah, right. Or say Trenlyhoof, if I remember the name right. And he's supposed to come to Ponyville and give it a review. It turns out he's been all over the place, including Las Vegas, which obviously it's referencing Las Vegas. With that said, the guy comes in and, of course, out of Rarity's inadequate thing for probably people she loves, just looking at them or trying to even talk to them, she just faints. So, with that said, the episode does continue on, where Rarity shows Trenlyhoof, that's it, Trenlyhoof, around Ponyville, including Sweet Apple Acres, which is where the core of this village was. As of course, Trenly gets in love with Applejack while she's walking at the farm, and of course Rarity winds up getting jealous because one of her most cherished icons that she has like a fangasm for, almost like, I don't know, something like that one episode of Batman the Animated Series where he meets the actor who plays the Great Ghost. With that said, the Trenly winds up getting in love with Applejack and trying to ask her, and trying to actually, you know, look at what she does for a living. Next thing you know, she's on a tour throughout Sweet Apple Acres on their, of what Applejack does for a living. With that said, Rarity winds up getting jealous of Trenly and tries many ways to actually get him to love her, including dressing up in a fashionista cowgirl getup. Don't ask me. Alright? With that said, the episode does continue on, and still Trenly is still in love with Applejack. There was like almost dire situations where I almost felt like they sort of did the whole deja vu thing with bats. You know, it's, I mean, I've actually seen this online once. Okay, you know the whole bat situation. They say they want to get rid of the bats, but Fluttershy says, why don't you just build a post? They deny it. I sort of feel the exact same way in this situation, where it's like, where Applejack is talking to Rarity about Trenly and trying to get him, you know, off his, obviously off Applejack's back, but obviously Rarity is not listening. Sort of the exact same way with bats, where Applejack and the rest of the main six aren't listening to what Fluttershy says, and everything either goes completely wrong or just goes completely off the walls and screwy. So obviously, Rarity tries as hard as she could, and the next thing you know, Rarity comes back, this time dressed up in a hillbilly getup, with a straw hat and overalls, or these pants that actually are either too big or something. I don't know. No, but she dresses up as a hillbilly, all right, and talks like one as well. There have been times where I've nearly laughed my head off just how ridiculous Rarity looks and talks. But that's just the icing on the cake. So, obviously Rarity tries to run the whole thing as just like the hill, as like a crazy redneck type of meetup or something. I don't know. And of course, Applejack comes in dressed up in one of Rarity's clothes. And that's just two times the two times I nearly laughed my head off at this kind of situation. They certainly know how to make some person get even with each other. Woo. With that said, the Rarity tries to win the situation over, but of course, being the sorry, I'm talking about a different kind of thing. I don't know why I'm getting off topic. So Rarity and Applejack, both on the opposite ends of the spectrum, much like how Applejack thinks like Rarity and Rarity thinks like Applejack, they try to basically talk to each other in both the different ways. Like I said, Applejack talks like Rarity because she's got like this high fashionista wannabe accent, and like Rarity has like this hillbilly farmer accent, which I think is what they're going for, not a hillbilly accent. With that said, for a lot of tests, Rarity obviously winds up being snapped out of her, hillbilly jealousy because of one of her, because when she jumps right into the mud as part of one of her skits, it winds up actually the mud winds up smacking right onto the dress. And of course, Rarity's just like, oh, I just feel so sorry for what I've done to you. And they just forgive her. But obviously she asks what dress is it. And it's obviously one of Rarity's high-end dresses. Rarity just, she just goes like crazy. She's just like, it's like, oh, this is one of your high-end dresses. And it's like, then she just screams for bats and stuff just to clean the mud off her dress. Obviously, she's really, really precautious. And then, of course, we obviously end with Trenly getting the, sort of the lesson he must learn. Like, you can't just be interested in moving somewhere just because you love a certain type of thing. We find out the truth, much like the last episode, that obviously the reason he was there in the first place was because he was getting real tired of, like, the high-end life. He was getting tired of the city life. He wants to take a break from it, actually take, vacations. Doesn't want to, like, spend time just, like, reviewing stuff, like, 24/7. With that said, the episode actually officially ends with actually learning a pretty decent lesson. I don't know. But with that said, simple ways, if I remember the episode right, the episode was high amounts of funny. Like, there was actually some pretty funny moments, especially when Rarity dresses up like a farmer and actually actually talks like in that accent. And what's funny is that there's a lot of memes that could be done with a lot of the faces in this episode. I could see, like, the one where Rarity's posing and she's got the derped eyes and everything. I could see that becoming a meme. And with that said, the episode was actually pretty nice, with a lot of actual interesting stuff, especially Trenly, who's like pretty funny type, who's actually a pretty funny character to listen to, especially with what he has to say. And I think that's all for me with this episode. So, I'm sorry if I was a little bit off track. I'm trying to get to work on new episode for March's episode of The Ferb Guy, and obviously I'm still continuing the contest to see the winner for, you know, the votes for the winner of the title of the Brony documentary, which obviously in the description. And of course the animation that's, and of course the audition animation needed for my idea of Wonderful All Over the Acres, which I think is getting overshadowed by some person creating an animation for Chant of Immortality. But with that said, stay tuned next week, and I'll talk to you guys about next week's episode, which hopefully is a good one. I'm the Ferb Guy, and I'll see you guys next week.